super exciting night. We're super excited with our draft pick of what's his name again, Trent?
Yanic.
Yeah, I'm joking. Yanic Konan Niederhauser. We had the really good opportunity to get to know Yannick. Really, it started back when he was at Northern Illinois with one of our scouts, John Lawyer, who saw him there. And then when he transferred to Penn State, we continue to keep an eye on him. We have regional scouts there, Steve Rosenberry, and over time, all of us saw him. And then the added benefit of Penn State being in the Big Ten, they actually practice in our gym before they played USC and UCLA. And Yannick was coming back from an ankle injury. And then we had Yannick out the couple weeks ago, and Trent and I were able to take him out to dinner. And since he's nursing a sprained ankle, our Maggie Bryant and our Performance Health and Wellness staff was able to spend time with him. Long story short, I'll let Trent tell you his journey of how he got here. But I think his best basketball is ahead of him. He's got great positional size. He's a terrific athlete. North to south, he's one of the fastest centers. In fact, he tested the fastest in the combine. He's a very good screen setter, roller, and vertical lob threat. We think in due time, not next year, but you can squint, and 2 years from now, you can see him with the ability to shoot some threes. He's got a really, really good touch. He's so thirsty to learn, and you'll kind of get the background when Trent goes into his backstory, but he's super, super coachable. He understands the areas he has to get better at. He's very, very motivated to be really, really good. And we always go on the draft board for best available player. And it also coincides this time with a need. We've kind of looked over the years for a center that complements Zoo, that does something different than Zoo does. And sometimes it's resulted with guys being undersized where we haven't been able to maximize it. Yannick has legit positional size, and I think the rim rolling threat combined with what Zoo's play is, I think in due time will be really, really good. Again, we're super excited. I'll turn it over to Trent to kind of give you some background on Yannick on how he started this journey.
Yeah, he grew up in Switzerland in a small village outside Bern that had like 200 people. At 15, he played kind of when he came on the scene to our international guys, Fab, Besnati. He played on a U16 Switzerland team. He was still 6'1". And on that team was also Kashawn George. And they weren't particularly good because they were just starting their development journey in terms of their bodies. 2 years later, Yannick was 17 and a half, 18 years old, and he was 6'9", growing 8 inches in less than 2 years. And you can see it with his play that he's still learning how to play with this massive frame that he has that is freak of nature. From there, he goes to Northern Illinois. He played for 2 years. That's where John Lawyer saw him for the first time. And then goes to Penn State this past year. And Jason Piambetti and the rest of the group really started to pick up on him. He doubled his output essentially in terms of points and rebounds from the MAC to the Big Ten. So moved up in level and grew as a player immensely, thanks to the coaching staff at Penn State and his own work rate. We think there's plenty of upside. That's the famous draft word, obviously. But for a guy that's been this age, he's still learning and growing into this frame that he hasn't had his whole life. That we think there's some real upside there. We talked about seeing him out here, but the kid himself and being able to go to dinner with him, he's pretty impressive as a human being, speaks multiple languages, really, really loves the game of basketball, easy to be around. We think we got a chance to have someone that can learn from Zoo and grow into a role that could play complementary to him at the center position as Elle pointed out. We just haven't had a size guy at that position in the backup role that's young that we can kind of feed into and give to our development staff.
Are there any injury issues with him going into the year, and do you expect him to be the backup center?
I think one, his injury. He's coming off an ankle injury, not serious. He just sprained his ankle, so he was actually getting back there. We'll probably, kind of just ramp him up gradually. He'll probably be available for some parts of summer league, but we'll see where he's at that. And I think we'll look at free agency. I mean, Yannick is, even though he's 22, he's basketball young, because to Trent's point, he didn't start playing the center position till 17. So we really look at his best basketball really is out in front of him. And if you track it, like Trent talked about him doubling his production, but even study his last 7 games, in the Big Ten and their last 5 where they went 3-2. He's just touching it. So we'll make a decision in terms of whether T-Lou decides who plays, but we'll probably have at least 3 centers, and we may want to get a different complement to balance it, because it's hard at any level for rookies to come in, but especially on a team like ours. But we'll kind of see how the roster plays out.
There were other. You have someone that's 22, kind of late being drafted at this stage. How do you guys kind of view their progress? How they can improve along the way when they kind of started out, as you guys said, at 22 years old, just to play the game of basketball?
Yeah, it's not that he just started playing the game of basketball. Like, he's played. It's just playing with this frame is a little new to him. So the physical parts of the game that you would see a normal center have, it's still a work in progress, and we saw growth even from the start of the year to the end of the year. 22, as NIL has came into the space, you guys have seen that more and more guys are going to be staying in school. Like, the normal seniors, the normal juniors will be going to kind of be back in, well, not vogue, but more of the group of being picked. You'll see tomorrow night there'll be a lot more guys that are going to be older, because the incentives to stay in school are different these days.
There were other bigs out there. Did you guys go the route of, like, we want someone who we can develop with a lot of upside, versus say there might be a more polished big that's available now?
Well, I think the draft is so much about projection. And there are a lot of good players available. And it's always tough deciding one versus the other. I think why we decided with Yannick is he's got terrific positional size. He also has some definite traits in the short term that will carry over, like his ability to run the floor, his ability to play behind the defense in the dunker spot, his ability to play screen and roll and be a vertical threat. Those are things that will carry over pretty much in day one. Some of the other things, the different pick and roll coverages, the nuances of, defensively as a rebounder, he has to get better there. He has a knack to get the offensive boards, but as Trent talked about in terms of him getting used to playing with this big frame, because he's strong, and I think it's just how he applies that functional athleticism going forward. But to answer your question, I think with all these guys, what you have to try to do, and why it's such a challenge, is what do they look like 12 months from now? What do they look like 24 months from now? And can you project them when they're in their prime, when they're 26 years old? What are they? Are they rotation players? Are they key players off the bench? Are they just roster players? And the goal is that when you draft, especially at 30, I think there's a 15% chance that the player will be in the league in 5 years, still in the league as a rotation player. So you're just doing your best to try to beat that math. And we feel he has a really good chance to be that type of player.
Lawrence, had a question similar to the point that you just made about just the challenges that late first-round picks face trying to stick in the league. Obviously, a lot of that is just because the teams they're being drafted to are teams that are trying to win, have veterans. You guys have been in that position. Is that something you guys think of and refine over the years when you see maybe how certain developments have played out with late first-round picks that you guys have had in recent seasons?
Yeah, no doubt. And I think it's, look, we're always the position we're in, and not that we're the only team like this, but we're always trying to be competitive. We're always trying to win. And we're also super fortunate in that we're in a great market that veteran players want to be. And, we've talked about it before. I think in terms of young players getting on the floor, so first it starts with, with us in terms of talent identification and character identification, mental makeup. Then it's the development of that talent, and then it's creating pathways for them to have an opportunity to play. And then when they do have an opportunity to play, for them to show whether they're capable or not. And it's tough because you look at even the guys that we've had who have been on minimums, veteran guys, it's hard for those guys to beat them out. So we're constantly looking, and we're going to make some tweaks in how we go through with our younger players next year. In the G League has been unbelievable for our guys. It's been terrific. But we're going to make, some tweaks in terms of having our guys spending more time with the team here. So they're getting practice reps. They're getting hands-on in terms of coaching, from the coaches here. So because back, I'm going to be the old man, but back when I was coaching there was a lot of practices. And so for a young guy to earn playing time, he would do it in practice. He'd beat out the veteran. And eventually, from a coaching perspective, you're like, hey, he's wearing this guy out. I got to give him a chance. Well, now, because in the NBA, because of the density of schedule, there's not a lot of practice time other than training camp. There's really no opportunity for young players to compete for playing time, that they either do it in the G League or through just their talent or opportunity, they nail it the first time. And we know, we've talked about this, is figuring out ways for our younger players to have pathways, and also at the same time, they have to earn it. And we don't give them anything. And there's always a lot of competition because we're super fortunate to have several good players.
I'm curious as to what T. Lou, we saw him earlier. We know he's been here. What his feedback was as far as the draft process in general, and specifically if any feedback or excitement even that he had specifically to Yannick being drafted.
Yeah, Tilo was great in the draft process. I mean, not only is he here to see the guys work out, but he also watches film. So it's great to be able to get his insight on all the guys. And you have a pretty good sense of the guys in the range and to be able to narrow it down. But he was terrific. He's super excited. I think, because not only did he see, just Yannick's athleticism, but we do a shooting drill called Clipper 105. That's pretty standard around the league. That's different types of threes. And even though, again, you're not probably going to see Yannick shoot threes in a game next year, but he saw his stroke. He was really, really impressed about what he could be. And so Ty's super excited for Yannick, and he adds a different element. And plus, I think when you meet Yannick, as Trent talked about, he's got a great spirit about him.
Is there a player he reminds you of?
The tricky thing when you do that is you're now thinking about that player. And I always feel when you're doing player comps, it's kind of unfair because each player is their own self. And if I say, hey, DeAndre Jordan, Derek Lively, but he has qualities of those. You think about the guys in the league. And it's unfair because these guys are all accomplished. Yannick hasn't. He's just this is draft night. So I always think it's a little bit unfair to put those expectations on him. But you have the classic, the Clint Capellas. There's a wide range of guys in this league, and we've tried to find guys like that because what you want to do, especially if you're center position, if they're basically one position players, that they only play one position, you'd like to have diverse skill sets. Zoo has done an unbelievable job of growing his game, and he's become one of the best centers in the game. Ideally, and whether it's Yannick, whether it's other people we add, we'd like to just have diversity there, and I think he's going to bring that.
Yeah, like you could come up with an array of guys that are rolling vertical lob threats that run very well at 7 feet, that defensively have some ability to switch, but are going to play probably in a drop coverage most of the time, that are big. Like you can run the gamut of those guys, and those are the type of names you'll hear. I think the unique thing about Yannick is that we're still figuring that out of what he will be. And yeah, you don't really want to put those names on people sometimes, but those are the skills, and so you can probably draw your own connections.
Do you think you'd ever play him with Zoo?
Well, that's why Ty Lue is the head coach. Yeah.
But based off of what you've seen, would it make sense to even cross-train him? Like with Kobe, you drafted him, and it's like we've heard 3 different ways of using Kobe, for example. I mean, it's a different player here, but similar question. It's like we know that you're looking at him as a center. Is there something there where you could say over, either immediately or eventually that he could eventually play with another center?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say we're just going to have him focus at being a center. But you never know. You watch even how the Rockets, the double big lineup. But I would say if we try to give our guys, especially when we're onboarding them, we just try to keep their box pretty small because they're overloaded, as rookies, especially on a veteran team. So it's going to be a center. It's going to be, you're going to focus on, you're going to be an unbelievable runner on both ends, screener, rim roller, vertical threat, rim protector. Like the job description, that's the job. And then be great at those things, and then we'll build out. But in terms of, the vision for him is really as a five, but as the league continues to evolve and as people try to negate so much shooting on the floor and to be able to offset it in different ways, we're super lucky to have Ty Lue, who is, as creative as they come, to figure it out. But I think, right, to answer your question, I think we're just going to focus on him being a five right now.
What would be the best case scenario with you guys and James Harden?
What's the best case scenario? That James is here a long time, and and the Clippers win championships. That's the best case scenario.
And how do you go about making that take place, sir?
I guess probably hire you as the lead negotiator. Have you had the James Harden wine? Have you ever had his wine? No?
Champagne's better.
All right. So nothing. I mean, we're able to formally engage with James once the finals ended. He's our number one priority. We're super hopeful that James is here, and he's here for a long time. But yet at the same time, we always respect he has a player option, so he can opt in, and obviously we're super excited that, or he can opt out, and hopefully we can do a deal that makes sense for both sides. But James, as you guys know, was phenomenal, and we hope to continue to see his play.
We didn't really get a chance to speak with him after the series ended. How did he kind of take how that series ended and that postseason run?
Yeah, I mean, I think very, very disappointed, like all our guys. Our guys and our group really felt we had a real chance, not just to get out of the first round, but to do something really, really special. I think, when James and others look back and reflect back, we look at different moments throughout that series where, we make a play here, make a play there, that the outcome could have been different. So there's always a lot of reflection, and I think he looks first internally, and then he's a super, super bright guy, and then we kind of problem solve together and figure out, okay, internally, how do we get better? And you look in the mirror first, and then what kind of needs that the team has, and so it hurts. I think all our guys talking to him, like it really hurt, because to a man, despite kind of what the outside expectations were, the momentum we built, and then winning 18 of our last 21, and then winning that game at Golden State. The team, thought, hey, this could be our year. Unfortunately, obviously, it wasn't. So, and I know it's hard, and we all have responsibilities, in terms of both the good and the bad, and facing the music, and no excuses are made. But I think when you put so much into it and you fall short, everyone deals with that differently. But to answer your question, I think he was really, really disappointed, just because his expectations, just like all of ours, were very, very high, and unfortunately, we fell short.
In the last 10 to 12 days, we've seen about 10 to 12 players move around the league, get traded around the league. How are you guys kind of viewing that? Do you expect to be in the mix in a lot of those as teams are kind of reshaping their teams around the second apron?
Yeah, look, you're always in constant contact with all the teams, and you have a good sense of the things that you can be involved with, and other things that you're not. Just like we talked about last year, the CBA is having a huge impact. We made some decisions, and some decisions were made last year to create flexibility for us going forward. You see what other teams have to do, and there's no secrets. So, but yeah, you're constantly engaged and looking for opportunities to get the team better, and we'll continue to do that. And kind of our goal, Trent and I and the rest of the front office team, is how can we get this current group as good as we can possibly be to compete at the highest level, while also still having flexibility going forward, because to your point, it's not going to stop. Like in, and in our case, because of, Steve, Ty, LA, Intuit Dome, all the great things that we're blessed with, that players are going to be in circulation, and we have to be in a position to be able to attain them. And, many times cap space, gives you that opportunity, because we're super fortunate that players want to play here.
I have two for you, actually.
Ooh, way to counter,
Wow.
Derek. Yeah, good job. You got Dennis good.
I've learned. Norm is extension eligible, obviously. Kind of what have the negotiations or discussions been like with him and his representation, and kind of how has that gone? But then also, this is the first time Kawhi's entered the offseason healthy. Kind of how's he been? Where's he at? Not physically, but, in terms of kind of him being ready for the summer and the offseason and getting ready for camp. Is he where you guys want him to be?
Yeah, so Norm, extension conversations actually can't start until July. And, at the appropriate time, we'll sit with Norm and his representative to talk about kind of, an extension and what it would look like and how it would fit in the bigger picture. With Kawhi, he continued to train all the way until basically the end of the finals, because he wanted to push his body to get to that point so he can play deep in June. He's extremely excited because, to your point, it's the first time in a while he's not rehabbing from a surgery, an injury, and he's really, he's able to get back to training to, whether it's improving things in his game, adding different things that he wants with in terms of his strength and explosiveness with his body, and just getting back to working as opposed to rehabbing. So yeah, I mean, he pushed himself all the way until the finals, and now he'll continue with his normal summer routine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for hanging out.
Thanks, y'all.